I often get questions about how I developed my picking, how I developed, articulation and speed and stuff like that. And, how I did do that was by doing exercises, And what I actually did was I took some basic exercises that I was taught, that probably most of you have seen, and I added some of my own ideas to these exercises. And I kind of clumped them together into like a 30-minute workout is what I call it. And I used to run through this every day. And the philosophy here is, that you're playing 30 minutes straight, picking down, and up, consistently, so you're really working your arm. And it's really boring, it's really boring to do this, but it's so beneficial, I can't stress how important this is. Me, myself, I did this every day because I thought it was worth it, and, it really did help my picking. So if you can stand the boredom, it would be real beneficial to do this stuff. Okay. Now, you've probably seen a lot of these exercises, the basic chromatic type of, things here. And also I have some of my own things that I added to these. And with a normal picking exercise, though, you're normally taught, an exercise, and you play it through for 1 week, if you're taking lessons, and then you go back for another lesson and you learn another one, you play that one for the next week. Well, that doesn't really help you too much because you're playing the exercise through and it doesn't really take that long. So you're not really working your arm enough that way. So I think you need to take all the exercises, that you can think of and pile them up and really work on doing them for, like 30 minutes in this case is what I did. So I'd like to begin with the exercises here. And this might get confusing at times, so, I'd recommend even getting out a piece of paper and a pen, and you can write some of this down if you want. Okay, the first exercise here, I like to start with what I call 6-string exercises. You may have seen these before. This is what I call a 1, 2, 3, 4 exercise, and I'm just playing chromatic notes here, starting on the first string on F, and I'm playing F, F sharp, G, and G sharp like this. And starting with a downstroke, and I'm playing down, up, down, up. Okay, and then the exercise continues doing that same pattern on every string, and it's played through like this. Okay, there's nothing musical about this, it's definitely a technical, physical exercise workout, so, that's why it's so boring, but again, I'd recommend doing this. Okay, so now when you've completed that, you've completed the pattern in one position. Now what you want to do is move this up in half steps and do it in every position on the neck until your first finger is up to the 12th fret. Now I'll give you an example here of what I mean. Okay, I'm going to stop there because you get the idea here. You're going to keep moving it up, though, in half steps like I just did, all the way to the 12th fret. And then when you're finished in that position, you can stretch your arm if you want, take a 2-second breather, and then you're going to start the whole thing from there and come all the way back down again in half steps like this. Okay, you get the idea, all the way back down to the first fret, and then you've completed exercise number 1, which was what I call 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, boring yet? Okay, this is just the beginning, so hold on. All right, the next exercise is exactly that, example backwards. Instead of playing 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to play 4, 3, 2, 1 like this. Okay, and same idea all over again. Go through the whole schmeal again with this 4-3-2-1 pattern. You want to move it up in half steps again to the 12th fret. You can take a little breather and then come all the way back in half steps again with the same pattern. Okay, now, each one of these patterns is going to probably take, maybe 2 minutes, maybe more. That's just an estimate. So don't get discouraged if it takes a long time, because, it's going to take a long time. That's what it's all about. And also, don't wimp out here and skip things like I am. I'm just doing that to save time here. Okay, the third exercise is what I call a 1-2-3 exercise, and it would be played like this. Okay, now that's the same idea here. You want to keep moving this pattern all the way up to the 12th fret, and in half steps, and then all the way back down in half steps. Okay, now our next idea is, you guessed it, that backwards, 3-2-1. Okay, now the unique thing about these 3-note exercises is that you have an odd number here. Okay, now with the 4-note pattern, let's take that for example. You played 4 notes on a string, so it was always even. You played down, up, and you always started the next string on a downstroke. Now with 3 notes on a string, it doesn't work out that way. You're going to play down on a string, and then the next string you're going to play up, down, up. The thing you want to avoid doing here is playing down, and then starting the next string on a downstroke again and playing down on every string. You don't want to do that, because that defeats the whole purpose of here of using consistently, back and forth strokes with your arm. So you want to play down, then start the next string on an upstroke, up, start the next string on a downstroke, down, and you'll find that you're going to start every other string on an upstroke, every other string on a downstroke. So don't cheat and play 2 downstrokes in a row. Keep real conscious of playing back and forth with your picking. All right, now that completes the 6-string exercises. Let's move on to what I call 2-string exercises. Basically the same ideas, but concentrated over an area here of just 2 strings. In other words, for every position that your wrist or your arm is over, whatever you pick with, if you're playing over this string, you're in one position. If you're playing here, you're in another position. You're going to use slightly different muscles, or use your muscle in a slightly different way. So I've signaled out playing in a certain area to work specifically on that part of the muscle, or that way you're using the muscle. So I've taken the same exercises and applied them like this. The 1, 2, 3, 4 idea like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're just going to move it up like this. Okay, now you completed one cycle of the exercise. Now you want to move that same thing to the next 2 strings, the A and the D. Go through the whole thing going up in half steps all the way back. And then you want to move to the next 2 strings, D and G. Do the same thing, all the way up in half steps all the way back. Okay, move to the next 2 strings, same thing. Next 2 strings, B and E, same thing. And then you want to come back. Use these 2 strings here, the G and the B, and do the same thing. Use the D and the G, do the same thing, all the way up, all the way back. Next 2 strings, and then finally the last 2 strings, you're back to where you started. Now don't cheat on this, make sure you play everything here. Just because I'm skipping, you shouldn't. Okay, now the next idea is that same thing but backwards. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, you're going to complete the whole sequence again, which I just showed you using it backwards. So that's part 2. That's the 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now you're going to use 3-note pattern. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, and you're going to do the same thing. All the way up to the 12th fret and all the way back in half steps. And you're going to do that on each set of 2 strings, all the way down the strings and all the way up the strings. Okay, and then the last exercise of this section is that backwards, 3, 2, 1. And again, you want to go through the whole same process. And don't let this get confusing, because it's really basic, it's simple. You know, if you have any trouble, just rewind the tape and you know, check it out again, or you know, also what I recommended before, you know, write this down on paper. Okay, now the next thing is a one-string exercise. This is for articulation on one string. I've seen a lot of guys just play fast on one string where they just get the pick going back and forth like this. And they kind of lose the articulation. Their left hand is not in sync with their right hand, so they're not hitting a note with their left hand as they are with their right hand. Exactly, the timing's off, they're not in sync. So this next exercise is this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. You keep moving the pattern up, and it goes like this. Now you want to do that same thing on every string. You know, you want to do it on the B string and then the G string. Move to every string and then come all the way back down again until you're back where you started. And that would conclude the one string exercise. Okay, the final section of this exercise here is to take the exercises, the scale exercises based on a major scale that I gave you at the beginning here, seconds, thirds, and the X, what I call the X, and starting them in the lowest position on the neck, and then moving them up in half steps all the way to the first fingers on the 12th fret, and then all the way back in half steps. For instance, you take the third scale. Okay, that would conclude the final segment here of the picking exercises. So try to do this, you know, every day as much as, or every other day as much as you can, and I guarantee you'll find this real beneficial. Even though it's really boring, it's going to definitely help your picking, you know, greatly. So, you know, I did this every day, and other players that pick great, like Steve Morse, I read where he also did the same thing. And what better example could I give? Because that guy's just one of the greatest pickers around. So, you know, try to incorporate this into your practice routine, and it'll greatly help you. All right, that pretty much concludes the video here. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you've, you know, gotten, you know, a lot of things out of this that you can apply to your playing. And, you know, I hope you can use this stuff as a vehicle to come up with some of your own ideas and, you know, incorporate this in your lead playing, your improvisation. Thanks a lot, and see you around.
Thank you.